amongst the married people. And it's not because, this is where I think we get confused. We think that he hates us. He don't hate you. He hates the purpose in you. He hates what you've been created for. He didn't know you before he was cast out of heaven. He just knows that he was cast out and that he would forever live in sin for the rest of his life with no way out. So his agenda is to separate the husband and wives. This is one of his agendas, is to cause division so that the purpose cannot be fulfilled. Many of you thought that you married who you're married to because they were pretty or they were handsome. Men, just pull your phone out and put your camera and turn it around so you see yourself. They didn't marry you for your looks. Men and women did not marry based on love. You did not marry. Let me back up. Adam and Eve did not marry based on looks and based on love. They had nothing to compare to. So love was... You with me? See, the only time that you can love someone is through action. Love is an action. Love is not a word. Love has been used for manipulation, or the word love has been used for manipulation. But for the most part, when we say that we love someone, we are saying that we love them based off of other things that we can judge it by. Right? Adam and Eve married due to purpose. And if we as Christian people, disciples of Christ, if we could find a way to marry others based on a purpose that God has for the two people, it would be easier to walk through marriage. Right now we have conflict in marriage and we're unable to walk through marriage because we're not fighting for the same purpose. We are fighting for self-centered purposes. What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me today? What did you do to me yesterday? That's how we base our walk in marriage. That's why we stay mad at each other. Because you done something wrong. You done something I didn't like. May not necessarily be wrong. Just something I didn't like. Right? So what we're going to do through this is I want to step out of our house and step into your house. And I want to talk to you about things that I know that she and I faced and that we fought in order to get where we are. Is our relationship perfect? Of course it is. There's only one of us that's telling the truth right now. Would I want my relationship to be any different than what it is? Nope. Nope. Because we're still growing in our purpose. And if the only way we grow is through conflict, then we need to face the conflict. We don't have the opportunity. We, us, the church. The church does not have the opportunity of walking away and shelving the purpose. Who made you God? Who said it was up to you to say when something was finished? You can't go through, or you can't be in marriage and decide, okay, I'm done. There's my purpose. Because one day, I've got to stand before the one that ordained purpose in our lives and give account to. So check your heart and ask yourself, do you really want to look at your Creator and tell Him that you chose to shelf His purpose? Because that's what you're doing when you walk away. When you divorce, and by the way, it says 50%, and that statistic is stagnant, I think. It's been that way for so long. And I still say it's incorrect because they don't categorize. Well, number one in that statistic, they don't categorize same-sex marriage. Well, wait a minute. If you're going to tell me that same-sex marriage is okay, then you have to categorize that into the statistic. So how many of those fail too? So we're taking that. That's out of the equation. What else is out of the equation is the ones that have a documented marriage with the court system. So they take that out of the equation. So I believe that that statistic is much higher than 50. I am not scared to say that that statistic's probably 75 to 80%. When you take all things into consideration. So the church is not exempt. Because you come to church Sunday doesn't exempt you from having conflict in your marriage. Because you are saved does not protect you, does not keep you from being a part of the statistic. There are things that we have to do in our marriage to keep our marriage together. One of the biggest things in our marriage, I think that we're trying still yet, is keep our mouth shut. Not be so quick to go. But see, our problem is most of our lives have been self-centered. And then when we get married, we bring that self-centeredness into our marriage. And now everything has to be about me and not about us. Another issue with that is it's definitely not about me. There deals with some about us because we're serving a purpose. It's mostly about Him. And if we don't keep Christ centered in the marriage, it falls apart. Adam and Eve walking in the garden, and the enemy spoke into her ear, and she decided there was something more than the purpose in which she was created for. That's what broke them. Now, it didn't break husband-wife, but it broke the marriage. Are you with me? It broke the marriage. It broke the covenant. Christ and the church. That's what it's all about. We are a direct representation of Christ and the church when it comes to marriage. He could have chose anything in the Bible, and He chose to say the great mystery of Christ and the church was tied to your marriage. He could have chose anything, but He chose your marriage. Man, listen, do you know how heavy that is? You know how heavy that is? How's your marriage doing? Is it doing a good job representing Christ in the church? Is it selfless or is it selfish? Man. Don't hurt yourself. Just fix it. That's okay. But what I want us to understand is, I think the biggest issue with marriages is we think we have it in control. We think we have control of it. And you don't have control of it. It's not yours to have control. You did not create marriage. He did. And he set a standard in marriage. Not you. Not culture. Not today's time. He set a standard. Y'all remember when the Pharisees approached him and was talking to him about marriage and, when this one could divorce and that, and they were just trying to trap him. He said, well, Moses said, but you read all that in context, and Jesus said that was never the intent. And he said the only reason that he done it was because you were so stiff-necked and hard-headed. He just got tired of dealing with you. He give you an out. Do you know if we actually was to, and we have, that's what's happened. Culturally, we have taken this thing that we can divorce for any reason, any time, any day that we feel. We've taken that even from biblical times, because Moses said, you can divorce a woman. You can put a decree of divorce in her hand, give her a certificate of divorce, if she does not find favor in your eyes. That's what he told me. It's in there. Yeah. It's in here. Yeah. So that means if you burnt my biscuits, look, documented historians, they said that there were divorces that were based on somebody not cooking the proper meal. And they was handing out decrees of divorce. So, if the wives didn't find favor in the eye, there's so much. Rocky, you've got more than just one Sunday. Unpack it easy. Instead of us continuing this adulterated type of ideology that we can divorce for whatever reason, we need to go back to the original and we need to see what that said. And Adam said, now this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, right? They became one flesh. And it says, for this, a husband should leave his wife or leave his parents and become one with his wife. There was no way out. This was a covenant. Yeah. The only way that you would be able to get out of the marriage was if one died. Moses had some issues. People kept, just like the church, because you always justify why you think it's okay. Yep. I'm not, listen, now this is not condemning words, okay? So if you've experienced divorce and that type of thing, and listen, I'm not condemning you. God's grace is sufficient, but this is what I'm telling you. Yeah. We have so flippantly entered into marriages thinking that our way out is if I don't like it, I can leave. Yep. We were putting, even back in this time, we were taking the wife that was created from the side, showing that it was a part, now has made them subordinate because it was for the man only if he found no favor.
She was a possession.
So if she didn't do as he would say do, he could offer decrees of divorce. So we took a woman that was created to be our helpmate to walk through the purpose with us, men, and we have caused her to be subordinate now we rule over her. No wonder divorces is on an upswing. It was never meant for her to be subservient to me. The head of the home, the priest of the home, well, I don't have to be dogmatic if I care for her the way that Christ cares for the church. She will give way to me, not manipulatively. Because some men going, okay, well, I'll do this, and she has to. You can't use this and be manipulative. You're opening up other areas for spiritual. But so I guess what I'm trying to get us to understand right now is the fact that you did not create marriage. You are not in control of marriage, and you have no right to say when marriage is over. Okay? Now, are there times and stuff like that? Listen, I know what has been said, but it is written. Was never the original intent. So am I saying to a spouse that's being abused? Now that can go either way. I mean, I've got scars. That can go either way. Wives can be beating on husbands too. Am I saying that someone should be kept in that environment? Absolutely not. Yeah. I'm not the one to say that. Matter of fact, I'm probably the one that will be a little more nosier and knock on your door and punch you myself if you're hitting on a woman. Women, I'll send my wife to hit you. But we've become so, I don't know, I think we're at ease now. Because if it ain't going to work out, it ain't going to work out. I'll just move on.
The world has told us that's okay. You know, and I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I didn't find Christ until in my 30s, and so the first 12 years of our marriage, those that have already heard this, it was for ourselves. You know, we got married thinking that was the right thing to do because it authorized us to have sex, right? And, but we live by the world's standards. The world says if you don't like it, that's a free, get out of jail free card, right? I don't like what you did, so I'll just go somewhere else. So that's what the world tells us. After we got saved, I think, and this is a process for those of you who are just coming into this, understanding your purpose in God. First off, God's not going to call one and not call the other. Okay? So whatever your purpose is, both husband and wife are part of. He may preach, but it's my prayers and my support for him, my covering of him. Yes, he covers me, but my covering for him allows him to do what he needs to do. So the enemy's attacks on us is to keep him from preaching, keep us from being successful in the kingdom, from giving you information to help with your marriages and help understand what's going to put you in a better situation. So the enemy comes after us. So circle back, the world says you can get divorced for any reason, and so that's what we tend to do.
I'm with you. The rib. We think God is so shallow that what he does doesn't have meaning behind some of it. It would be like taking the rib. Why didn't he take a toe or a finger? Girl, you was studying when I was studying. Stop. But watch. The ribs are actually, and some of you nurses and whatever, it has a lot to do with our breathing. Y'all get it. She's the easer. God breathed the breath of never mind. Anyway, the rib. She's the one, men, pay attention. She is the one that has been designed to help protect you. But because you are so masterful, you don't want to take heed to anything. Can I tell you that she has blocked a lot of idiotic steps in my life? She has gone, be careful. And I'm going, what? You don't. Then I found out later, I should have just listened to her. Now I've got to struggle through this for the next 6 months.
And women, if you're not
A godly woman,
a godly woman,
a virtuous woman, not an argumentative woman.
If it makes your spirit feel good that your husband fails, you need to check yourself.
You need to check your spirit.
Seriously. It's like saying, Mike's not here, but we used to tell him all the time he was a pilot. It's like wishing will ill on the pilot of your plane that you're on. You know? I want nothing but the best for my husband. I want to see him succeed in every area of his life. And if that means that I have to let go of some of...
Wait a minute. You want to see me succeed in every area that is ordained by God in my life.
Okay.
Because there's some areas it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Are y'all following? I didn't mean to throw that hiccup in there, but it's very important that she wants the success of every step ordained by God in my life.
True.
Because she flows in that. She benefits from that as well. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
You're good.
I felt like that needed to be shared because we can twist stuff like that. Well, you should want me to succeed in. If it's ungodly and if it's something that's taken away from the ordination of what God has imparted into your life, then you know what? You need to get rid of it because now it's become idolatry. And a lot of it will become, a lot of what we accomplish in life becomes idolatry when we do succeed because now we're puffed up. Because we have success in an area. And that area was never designed for you. And now you take precedence over God in that area of life that you've become successful in. You follow me? God just doesn't. God's not talking about these mythical gods when he says you'll have no other God before me. He's talking about anything and everything you place in front of him that has become your God.
Yes.
I heard somebody say it the other day, who sits on your throne?
Yeah, that's true.
Not just on the throne.
Yep.
Who sits on your throne? We know who sits on the throne.
Yeah.
But who's on your throne? Is God on your throne or is it your fill in the blank? I told y'all this was going to come straight like. Because even in our marriages, we put other things before our marriages.
We do. We do.
And our marriages are vital.
Yeah.
Our marriages are vital to the success. To the success. Hear me out before you go blasphemy. Our marriages are vital to the success of the spreading of the gospel. If it were not so, he would have never penned that example on our marriages. But we don't treat it as such. Man, if we really knew the heaviness of marriage, most of us would have, I wouldn't have got married.
Trying to think of the right way to say this.
You say it like you got it, baby. Now you feel the pain.
God is not going to sacrifice your marriage or your family for your ministry.
Girl. Oh, man, you opened up another worm.
Good.
God will not sacrifice your marriage for the benefit of your ministry. Here's the problem. Because you've brought self-centeredness into your marriage, you think you're right and they're wrong, and you're going to say, well, they're not following God.
True.
So see how quick we will add things to what is profound. We'll add things because God will not sacrifice your marriage for the sake of your ministry. The Bible talks about eunuchs. Some were made eunuchs, some were born eunuchs, and some became eunuchs. There's 3 different areas. I don't have a whole lot of time to go through all of it, but what he was talking about, he was talking about being single. And he said it's better. Well, there's 12 disciples, right? One of which was married. Anybody know who that was? Of all people, man. Of all people who was married was Peter. Boy, don't you know that when this sermon came about and this teaching came about and Jesus looked and said what he said, Peter was like, daggone it, man, I should have just stayed single. Peter felt the weight. And the other 11 said, nah, I'm not interested in that deal. They separated themselves for the service of God. That's how your marriage should be. Your marriage should be separated for the service of God. Not for you, not for your benefit, but for God. And if our marriages do not display God, then we are wrong. We are in error. And we need to fix it. I just think that we have taken marriage as that license to have sex. That's what it was. That's what it was for me because I felt guilty. I had fun, but I felt guilty. Right? And by me getting married, now I was guilt-free. That made it even more fun because I was guilt-free now. And now we could have children because we couldn't have children outside of wedlock. I mean, are y'all hearing the stupidity behind this? You having sex before you married, but then wanting to be married so that you can have children because you can't have children outside. I mean, just
Crazy.
Listen, this is coming from someone that was born and brought up in church, that understood and knew different. This is coming from the one that said, you know what? God's grace is sufficient and God will always forgive. And I've got plenty of time and I will ask, this is how I thought, I will ask God into my life when I'm taking my last breath. You know how dangerous that is? Not only dangerous, but stupid. That we would be willing to abuse the grace of God in our life so much to the point that we would live like hell. and offer God nothing and still ask for Him to forgive us. That was just my standpoint. Not now, but it was. So now that we're married, how do we go about life now that we're married? Because now I can't do what I want to do when I want to do it.
I think that was huge for me. And it may have been for you. But
No, it was bigger for you. I was easier.
I was self-sufficient for 21 years. Yeah, my parents were there, but up until that point, I didn't need anybody else. And so the hardest part of our marriage was him telling me what to do and me telling him, "You're not my daddy." I mean, that was a huge part of it. I didn't understand, neither one of us understood what marriage truly was. And it was probably a good, I was the mother, I was the stay-at-home mom, so it was a little bit easier for me at that point once I had children to understand there is no more me. At that point, it's about him and it's about those babies, because those babies need somebody to take care of them. And, but I think that was the hardest part, is becoming selfless. It's not easy. You'd think it would be. But I was honest. I didn't get to do the things that I wanted to do the way that I wanted to do it because you wanted this and they needed that, and I had to put everything for me aside.
This all came and I really wanted to do something like the marriage in the garden. When you sit and look at Adam and Eve as husband and wife, as God created them, Adam probably should have been more, in my mind, should have been more frustrated with the fact of a woman than the woman being frustrated with the fact of a man. Because Adam had some time to live prior to the woman. Understood? He was able to do the things that God had asked him to do without the influence, the outside influence, an alternative influence, an altered influence in his life. And then here comes Eve. Because God said it's not good for man to be alone, and everything that I've passed before you is nothing like you, and you need a helpmate. Yes. So now comes the influence of my wife into my life, changing the things that I want to do, right? Dictating to me where my money can go now. You can't buy Harley parts, got to buy a formula for a kid. Right. So these types of things start to influence us, men, these outside influences. The issue I think that we have as men in the relationship, once we get married, I don't think I can speak for most men, I think. I don't know if I'm going to be able to speak for all of us. I can speak for most of us. The reason you got married is because you wanted to call her yours. Nobody else's. I mean, like I said, I can't speak for every man, but I bet you I can speak for most of us. I was already getting everything I wanted from her. Keeping it G-rated. I was already getting everything that I wanted from her prior to being married. What was the purpose of getting married?
Make sure nobody else did.
There was something in my mind that I understood about marriage. There was a vow that was taken in a covenant that said, till death do us part. Well, that opened up a couple of categories for me. I was like, okay, so I'll just kill her. But in my mind, I'm going, I don't want anybody else to have her. So the way I stopped that was to marry her. Now she's mine. Don't look at my wife. I mean, look, I'm telling you, I would swell both your eyes. I would hurt you if you looked at my wife longer than I would fight you. That was when we were dating. Because I looked at you as competition. I'm working on something. Keep your eyes back in your head and forget about it. Whatever it is you're thinking, forget about it. Because I'm working on something. But then when I became married, I thought she was mine and I didn't have to worry about anything. Boy, was I wrong. So now I could treat you differently. Because we were married now.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I could talk to you differently now. Because we were married. See, at first when I wasn't married, I was scared that you would run off. Y'all never had that fear in your relationship? They must not have rocked you like she rocked me. I was scared death she would just walk out the door and leave me. So everything that I tried to make it a bed of roses for her.
He was quite the romantic.
Was. But I had to work at that.
Yep.
I got married, I didn't have to work at it. You think once you get married, man, the work's over. It's harder now because now you've got the same influence entering your kitchen as Adam and Eve did in their garden.
Yeah. That's good.
The enemy comes and whispers in each ear.
Yeah.
And says, I wouldn't take that.
Yeah.
They shouldn't act like that. I bet you something's going on.
Yeah.
I bet you they're seeing somebody. I bet you they're talking to somebody.
Life is
They
always
don't love
better.
you that.
Yeah.
It's better out there.
Yeah.
You're going to be married to that. He flops all the time. Come on, y'all never had him walk in your kitchen? I'm trying to keep it. They can't take but so much heat. He's never come and tried to get in your ear and it's not worth it. It doesn't matter anymore. They don't care. Just saying that to get their way. See the outside influence?
Yeah.
And see when we're not grounded in the purpose of our marriage, it's easier for us to vacate the marriage.
That's right.
See, our purpose, and we're still growing into this, our purpose is edifying the kingdom
Yeah.
with the proclamation and the edification of the gospel to those around us. That's our purpose. Our purpose costs a lot.
It does.
And some of the hardest things, and I'll say this because I've never really said anything about it. For some people, it's hard to separate themselves from family and loved ones to go and minister to Christ or to minister to God. And what I mean by that is, if you have a birthday party to go to or an outing to go to, and you have something else that has been laid on your heart, will you separate yourself from that and go into your quiet room and stay there for a day while they go and enjoy their time? I never had. I never got angry about that. But that's what my life consisted of. I could go and be at the church for 12 hours, and y'all don't even want to work for 8.
Come on.
I could go and pray for 8 to 10 hours, and y'all don't even want to say prayer over the food. Yep. There was something different there. And not everybody is built to do that. Not everybody's going to have the stamina to do that. They might do it once or twice, but when you say, hey, we're going on vacation, we'll be gone for a couple weeks, a couple days or whatever, I mean, that kind of stuff didn't matter to me, because there was a purpose. Yeah. And at the moment, she fulfilled the purpose by making sure that I was taken care of so that I could go and do what I had to do. Now, some times have changed, but it's what I'm saying, what I'm trying to get to is it's hard in marriages because we think that we have to share our time. For every hour I give him, I have to give her. Or for every hour I give him, I have to give him. It's not the way it works. See, what you get to see a product of how gracious God really is.
Yes, He is.
When you turn your marriage from the lust. Y'all thought it was love, it was lust. When He turns your marriage from lust to purpose. Yeah. And you start figuring out, wait a minute, we didn't get married just to live life together. Come on, have you ever thought of it? Do any of you think about it like this right now? Why am I here?
Yeah.
There has to be more to my life than me waking up to an alarm clock every morning and going to work for 8 or how many ever hours a day and having a weekend off and going home and maybe going and tubing on the river or whatever. I mean, there's got to be more to my life than just doing what I'm doing. Yeah. Do any of you live in that? It's the same with our marriage. There has to be more to our marriage than just having someone to ride shotgun or to help navigate you through your traffic and tell you when the lights turn red. Or how hard to brake. Yeah. There's got to be more to our marriage than just that. So we had to start understanding and identifying there's a purpose. Yeah. What is that purpose? We didn't know what our purpose was. We served the fellowship of our community in the church until God revealed our purpose.
And I think that's key. Our humility. We didn't want a title. We didn't want a platform. We wanted to serve God. And we went to the church and said, however we can be used, please use us. You know, we just want to be part.
Yep.
I want to feel part.
I was picking
of
up
your
trash.
Community. And so to use us in any aspect, hey, cleaning church, scrubbing toilets, wiping babies' butts, whatever needed to be done, that's what we did.
I didn't do the baby butts.
But I think there comes a point, at least for us, and we try to communicate that to people that we minister to, is and I've said this before, so I know some of you are going to roll your eyes. Everything is spiritual, right? Everything in our life as a child of God, we have to understand that it is spiritual. We are not battling things in the flesh. We are battling things in the spirit. And so in our marriage and in our relationships, it was God opened my eyes to see what's going on spiritually. Help us to understand we're not battling each other. You guys, you're not battling each other. You're not fighting each other. Do you understand that? There is a real enemy trying to destroy you.
Well, they think because they're saved or they go to church.
You got a bigger target on your back
Well,
now.
it's not even that. They think what the Christian community believes is that now that you're saved, you don't have to fight any demons. And I'm just telling you that there are demons assigned to you. And you've got, if you're not spending time with God, you're not going to recognize the demon. Y'all think that the demon's going to come in and kick your whole screen door down on the front of the porch. No, he's creeping through the cracked window by the kitchen that you haven't gotten fixed, that you look at every day. Oh, boy, watch how spiritual this gets.
Yep.
Standing at the kitchen sink and you see the crack and you neglect it. You keep, man, I got to get that fixed. Man, 2 years later, I've got to get, watch. Man, I've got to stop looking at pornography.
Yeah. Come on.
Man, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Shouldn't have said that.
Man, I shouldn't. Come on, men and women.
Yeah.
There's things in our life that we consistently neglect and we blame our partner.
Yeah.
I better not use that word. We blame our husband or our wife.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to give leadway here. I do not believe in it, will not condone it. So, between husband and wife, we don't fix certain areas, and I want to blame her.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about this all the time. People's quickest way out of any type of conflict and argument is deflection.
Yes. Yes.
If I can turn your argument off of my fallacy and have you look at something else, I feel more protected.
Yeah.
Now I can communicate with you. But if our argument is going to be pornography the whole time,
Yeah.
I'm too uncomfortable. But isn't this what happens in our marriages? And a lot of the issue, and man, I hope I ain't stepping too far out on a limb where I'm going to crack it and break. But I'm going to say, man, we got to be in the 90 percentile of what we're arguing with our spouse about is covering up the faults of our own. I got to keep your attention off of me. So I got to tell you how bad you are. I got to tell you how wrong you are. I got to tell you that wasn't, this ain't. I told them it's probably going to be our guest speakers next Sunday. But this is what happens with us in our marriages. we all fight ourselves because we've based our marriage on selfishness.
Yes.
I married you to fulfill something for me.
Yes.
I know you want to think this, but I need to be honest. I didn't marry you
Yeah.
to help you.
That's right.
Y'all hate it because y'all ain't brave enough to tell them that. Y'all ain't brave enough to look at your husband and your wife and tell them the kind of stuff that we'll tell each other. Because you're still not walking out your marriage based on your purpose. All right, married couples. How many of you know your ordained purpose as husband and wife for the kingdom? Nobody willing to. You see what I mean? And listen, you may not know your purpose. Let me put it this way to help you, because that's not meant to defeat you.
Yeah.
It's just meant to provoke you.
Yeah.
How many of you are serving the kingdom in search of the purpose? See, we romanticize our calling. Man, it's a, I don't know what I'm called to do. I wish I knew what I was called to do. I don't know my call. What you call? I don't know. And we have romanticized the calling, and we have stopped serving. Do y'all think that Peter knew that he was going to be the inauguration speaker for the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost when he cut off the soldier's ear in the park? Do you really think that they thought they were going to be ministers of the gospel when they were throwing out the nets across the other side of the boat after they had fished all night long? They were serving the kingdom.
That's right.
And you're so caught up on yourself, you have no time for serving the kingdom. You're wanting everybody to serve you.
Come on.
I'm buying everybody a towel next week. And every time you come in, you got to wear it.
A towel.
A towel. People that read the Bible, you know what I'm talking about. Jesus served.
Yeah.
He removed his outer garment and put on the towel and washed the disciples' feet. Until you are ready to take your spouse, husband or wife, and walk hand in hand and serve the kingdom, I'm afraid that you'll die not knowing your purpose.
That's true.
Stop romanticizing it and thinking that it's going to be under lights, holding mics. The sad side of church is that Debbie and I can sit and have conversation about you, and we see so much in you. And we go, man, that's... But you won't serve long enough. You're willing to let your purpose die because of your selfishness. you don't think that you carry enough inside your marriage to benefit those around you. Man, God has put each and every one of you in this spot right now, here, to benefit someone else. But because you're so tied up in you, I won't go to Friday nights because I don't like what they eat.
Bring something you like.
Bring your own food. Be a part of the fellowship, because somebody right now is sitting at the table hoping that someone will recognize their pain.
Yeah.
Most people will not project their pain to you directly. The other part of those people won't even tell you until they know that you care about them. Because the church has done that to herself also. How are you doing today? Well, oh Lord, I got to hear all that. And you don't care?
Come on.
You don't care how they feel. You don't care the problem they're going through. You walk away and go, thank God that's not me. You better thank Him twice.
Hello.
Because if you had to deal with what they had to deal with, it'd break you.
Yes.
But see how so loose? That's how we treat Christianity the same way we treat marriage. The same way we treat God. Our terms. Benefit me or you're out. If you're not adding to me, I don't need you. And the whole time God's going, no. I put her in your life so that I could get a hold to her, so that she can spend eternity with me. And maybe her purpose the whole time here on earth, her purpose, individual purpose, joint purpose, her purpose is for me to care for her. To let me. See, y'all, some of y'all don't even like letting other people take care of you. Don't even like you. Don't. Some of you fight over paying the meal.
Come on.
I don't know who they are fighting over paying for a burger. Just sometimes what we are in is our design purpose, and we're fighting it. And God grows us through seasons and times.
Yes, He does.
I might have to nurture you, keep you, protect you, and hold you for a season. Listen. And depending on what deposits I've made in those seasons,
Oh, that's key. That's key.
is going to depend on those withdrawals
Yes.
that I receive in the season I need to be
Amen.
nurtured
Amen.
and held
That's right.
and protected. Y'all don't like me.
Oh, come on.
Sometimes it costs you discomfort so that your husband or your wife is comforted. But you aren't willing to be uncomfortable so that someone else may be comfortable.
I think this was key for us to learn. And if you haven't already, I challenge you, because so many arguments or so many situations in our own personal marriages are designed on how you made me feel, or what you said, or what I said to him that triggered me because emotionally I didn't like that. And when I realized that my happiness, it's unfair for us to hold the other person accountable for my happiness.
It's heavy.
Do you hear that? It's unfair for me to have him responsible for my happiness. This is my spouse. This is my husband. We are in this together. But I draw my happiness from him. Okay, my relationship with Christ is first. My marriage is second. And when I took the weight off of him to make sure that the temperature in our home was consistent, it took the stress off of him, and it made our relationship better.
She was the barometer. I was the thermometer.
Yeah.
I walked in the house, I'd go, safe. Not going to enter.
Yeah.
But all right, you're going to have to elaborate.
Okay.
If God is what you draw from, what's my purpose in our marriage? Now, we didn't rehearse this, so I didn't know she was going to say that, and I didn't know I was going to ask this question. See, this is how transparent we're willing to be. And y'all won't say nothing. Hide behind your white robes. So if everything that you need is drawn from God, what is my purpose in our marriage?
It's our earthly relationship, husband and wife.
So you're telling me that there has to be a fulfillment on my side for you. I still have to fulfill things.
Sure.
But everything that you draw from Christ, does that negate me?
Not at all. It adds to.
If I'm proper.
What that means is if you didn't say the right thing or do the right thing, that doesn't change me. Because he already said and did the right thing. It's already in my spirit.
This is what I'm trying to get y'all to hear. Her stability doesn't come from me. Her stability comes from him.
It started here. Okay? I want you to understand that.
Well, that's because she was on drugs.
It started here because we had no understanding of what marriage was. Okay? It was not modeled before us, just so you know. It started here, but it created from God. Once we both gave our life to Christ, there was a new marriage. Our relationship was different.
Wasn't a restored one. I tell people, in order to have something restored, you had to have something to begin with.
Yeah.
We didn't have a marriage. We had a piece of paper.
Yep.
No understanding of what marriage was. No idea in how to walk it out. We were just living life, making babies. And that's what we did. I thought I was supposed to work all the time. Thought I was supposed to keep her barefoot and pregnant. But I was done, baby. I was done. I was done on number one.
Yeah.
But I think I'm asking this question for a reason. But what she draws body, soul, and spirit. He created all three. And he definitely wants all three ministered to. Ask me how I know. That's why we have ministering body, soul, and spirit. Because one time I used to tell people, God don't care about how you feel.
Yes, he does.
He cares about you getting there. And I'm telling you, God does care about how you feel. And that was the way he broke it down to me. He said, boy, did I create all three? Body, soul, and spirit? I said, yes, sir. He said, then I expect you to minister to all three. I said, yes, sir. And there ain't been no conversation about that since. So with that being said, there's body that has to be ministered to. Whether it's in time that you're sick and you need some medicine or whatever's going on, there's body that has to be ministered to. There's a touch fabrication for her that has to be ministered to. If I don't touch her, she feels neglected. Do I want the touch? I care less. We got to keep it PG. But she used to say she was going to ground me. For you adults, married adult, you understand what I'm saying? She was going to ground me. And I looked at her and said, wait a minute. I've been in the Navy, went on a 6-month med cruise, put my feet on the ground for 3 days, and went back out to war for 9 more months. You can't ground me. I done practiced. I don't. If you need clarification, you can come talk to us afterwards. But that physical thing that having to be, it doesn't matter to me. That is not my language, my love language. It's just not. Mine's affirmation. I love it when she says, honey, that was good, or honey, thank you.
Or brings him some cookies and milk.
Or brings me some cookies and milk when I don't ask for it. Or the house is cleaned, or that type of stuff. That means something to me because she is showing her appreciation. Yeah. You with me? Now, if she stops that and I stop this, what do y'all think? We'll have a problem? There's probably going to be an issue in the house. There's probably going to be burnt biscuits, dirty houses, absence. So all of this stuff means something. So you can't turn and go, well, you can't look at your spouse biblically. You cannot look at your spouse and say, I don't need you. You can't do it. You can't do it. But yet you walk out your marriage believing that in your head. That's why you have the arguments. That's why you have the fights. That's why you have the issues. Because you think that you don't need them. You do need them. Now listen, if you're not married, it's better to stay single. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
But if you're going to burn, Paul said, if you're going to burn, better put a ring on it. Right? That's modern day translation. But I think that's the hardest issue in marriages right now, is the selfishness and the unidentified purpose. Not the unidentified, the unknowing of the. I don't know how to put this together. I'm not that fluent. How do I say it? It's not that that you haven't identified the purpose for your marriage. It's the unknowing that there is a purpose that even exists for your marriage. Undiscovered purpose. Undiscovered of the knowledge of purpose. Because see, most of y'all thought you got married because she looked good. And that's why you fight the whole way through your marriage, because she ain't always going to look like that.
It's like our walk with Christ. I feel like a lot of us get saved to keep from going to hell, but we don't understand once you become saved, there's a responsibility to serve Christ.
And that's not the purpose of being, that's not the
It's-
purpose of walking in salvation.
No, not at all.
That's
You're
not the
missing.
purpose. That's
Yeah.
just, that's a side benefit. The side benefit is you don't have to worry about the AC running out. It's a side benefit. But too many people run to the altar to be saved so they don't have to experience hell. And that's not the covenant. But we will live our whole life. That's why I'm saying, man, there's got to be something more to my life than just doing what I'm doing. There's got to be a purpose behind it. God, what's the purpose? And I don't hear anything. And then I just go, well, I don't even know why I'm doing this. And I quit. Instead of applying myself and serving the kingdom until the purpose is revealed by way, revelation only comes by God, not man. Until the purpose is revealed to me, I keep serving. How long do I serve, Pastor? Keep serving. How much longer, Pastor? Keep serving.
Yes. Yes.
Well, what can I do? Find something.
Yeah.
Well, that's not. Can you help out in the children's department? Well, that's not my call. I thought you didn't know what your calling was. Now you're telling me that's not your calling. How do you know?
Yeah.
Man, see how we do this, man.
Yeah.
How you know she won't like it unless you try it?
Come on.
How do you know that's not what he wants until you do it?
Come on.
I know she don't, well, she used to not care. Wives, life and death is in the power of the tongue.
Yes.
My wife told me one day, I don't like flowers. I don't know why you get them. I ain't never bought her another flower since. Now she loves flowers. But guess who don't get them? See, y'all. I might have done once or twice.
You have to understand, though,
But it's
in
not-
the beginning, we were poor and broke, and spending $40 on a bouquet of flowers, as nice as it was, would have been 3 or 4 meals.
Now, see, if she would have spent it on me, it would have excited me because that was my love language. But instead, I could have come home and just give her a little tap.
Yep.
Boy, it'd have been on. You know, probably had 8 kids. Right?
Yeah.
This is, all right, we got to close.
Yeah.
But I want to keep pouring. I want to pour until they're going, until they're just choking. Because I just, all I hear is a broken church. Because everything that deals with God we take lightly. And it's much heavier than what you perceive. I find myself in seasons of lamenting because I feel I've done him no justice. I find myself lamenting because I feel like I've failed in the purpose. And I watch the church having her garment torn. Because we're allowing outside influence in our homes, in our marriages. How can I convey his love to a broken and dying world? When I can't understand that my marriage is full of purpose. Wives, he's your husband. He's your husband. Husbands, she's your wife. You chose one another at an altar. I would hope that there was some type of premarital thing that would take place in counseling, and I would hope that the covenant that you made would be till death do you part. My prayer through the time that we're going to spend on marriage, and I don't know how long it's going to be, so don't ask me. It's going to be until the Holy Spirit says, okay, we're good. But I refuse. I refuse to allow a spirit of division, a spirit of rebellion to come into this house and wreak havoc. If that means I have to hurt your feelings through the process to get your head out of your... And to realize your marriage is not about you, but it's about the kingdom. I'm not going to let you lay down. Not as long as you're going to be a part of this fellowship. I'm going to make you fight. going to make you work. I'm going to make you serve. I'll make you serve until you like it.
That's what was done with us. Just saying.
See, 20 years ago, you would have never been able to convince me that she and I would have ever been doing what we're doing. All I wanted to do was, I was just going to be an usher, mind my own business, help usher you in and set you down, and pick up your snotty tissues because you forgot to take them out to church. Do whatever was needed to make sure that God's house was setting and prepped and ready for you. Little did I know that God would take me to another level. See, there's something. There's something about serving a body that causes humility. There's something different to serve someone that reveals humility. I didn't know any of that. I didn't know coming in serving a body would cause me to recognize humility. Or to cause me to have humility. Because there has to be a sense of humility in serving, or you're not going to serve. And then God finds another place. He says, now, I don't want you serving a body. I want you serving a person. And that's where humility was revealed. Because then it wasn't about me at all. I walked in the shadow. Called water boy and everything else. But everything I'd done was out of sincere humility. Because I never wanted my pastor to have to worry about, did I forget this postcard? Am I supposed to say this? I left my Bible. I got to get a door open. Or I've got to walk through 1,000 people and hear about their cat and their dog and their bird fevers before he get to a platform so that he could deliver the word. I was that deflection. It wasn't because I put him on a pedestal. It's because I wanted his heart with God. I didn't want distraction. And I served with everything I had. I didn't even want him putting gas in his own truck. But I served with everything I had. Not for my benefit. Truth be known, I thought that's where I would glide the rest of my life. I would be a pastor's right hand. That's where I thought I was at. And I was comfortable. And then God took to another level. And then after serving that, God called to another level. And now here we sit. All of what you see and all of our existence is due to the seed of serving. But now we have a purpose. See, Satan already knows it's going to take more than what he has to offer to sidetrack us from our purpose. We still argue just like you argue. We still have our differences just like you have your differences. We still have our, just like you have your, we choose to act upon it differently. We choose to act upon it differently. You're missing it. We choose to act upon it differently. We don't react. Do we get it right all the time? Nope. But I refuse for this to be separated because of something else. That's against our purpose. And I'm just telling you, you can't go into a marriage without humility. You can't walk into a covenant without humility. And you've got to be willing to serve. Eventually, you're going to figure out none of this has to do with you. I have to put her before me. I have to put you before me. Stop taking marriage so lightly that you think you have control and that you have the power to call quit. Fight through it. Men, get a backbone. Get in God's face. Get in His presence. Let Him take care of it. Let Him fix it. Women, be quiet. Go get on your face. Get in His presence. Let Him fix it. Before you break out in another argument, go to separate rooms.
Amen.
And when you get there, be humble and say, God, what do I need to fix in me? Don't go in there saying, you better fix that woman. There's so much more to marriage than what you realize. I mean, Mr. Charlie and Miss Linda have been married for, are you 50s yet? 50.
50 what? 50 years.
It's been married 50 years. Did you know, honestly, that y'all married out of purpose for the kingdom of heaven? Or did you marry because he looked so good, Miss Linda. He was just the man's man, wasn't he? See there? He was the knight in shining armor. So no matter if you've been married 5 minutes or 50 years, most people don't realize they marry out of purpose. I mean, think about it, man. Check this out, Walt. Game day. Game day. God calls your number. He brings you up and he says, did you take care of what I needed to be taken care of? When it dealt with you in your marriage. When you knew that you were the, how do I want to call it? When you realized that day that you were the reflection of Christ and the church, when the day that you realized that, have you carried that with you throughout your marriage? This is game day. The game's on the line. I was watching a game the other night, come down to the kick. Missed 2 field goals prior to that. And they put him in. If God calls your number to put you in, can you do it? Will you be able to get rid of all the distractions outside of your marriage? All the other influence? And will you be able to represent Christ and the church in that moment? Man, it's heavy. All eyes are on you. Will they see Christ and have eternal life? Or will they not see him and die? See, that's the weight of marriage. You just thought it was an I do. There's more to it. Can you fulfill the purpose? Not can you, will you? Because all things are possible. But will you? Can you put away what your family says about them? Can you put away what your friend says about them? Can you put away what your peers say about them? And love them? And care for them? See, I don't care what you think about my wife. Just keep it to yourself. I wouldn't voice your opinion, not in my earshot. I'm not going to let you influence how I feel about my wife. We can honestly say this now. There is nothing that anybody can ever say about either one of us that our spouse, that either one of us don't know. Ain't no skeleton hanging in that closet, brother. How's yours? Don't go home and puke today, okay? There might wait for the moment. Don't just go home and tell your wife that this is how you been and this. Just wait for the moment. Get some counseling first. Come and see us. Let us help you walk you through some of it. But this is what it's about. So this is what Marriage 102 is going to be about. I want you to feel the weight of your marriage. I want you to know this ain't no game. Good? By Facebook and YouTube. Don't see y'all next Sunday.